You enter under borrowed light. It is too bright. It does not reveal, it exposes. You squint, not from wisdom, but from glare. Even the dust performing in the beam wants attention. Even the dust has a role. You are not invited. You were conscripted. The world does not ask if you wish to act. It pins your number to your back and pushes you through the curtain. Listen to the electricity in the rigging. It hums like a need without a sentence. That hum is older than your language. It pushes and you move. Call this will. You have been told that you choose. Yet the first thing you learned to do was cry, and the second was reach. No philosophy preceded this reaching. Hunger authored your creed. You did not choose to want. Want chose you. Behind the painted cities and the well-dressed talk, there is a pressure. It has no face. It has no biography, but it has you. They dress it in polite names: ambition, growth, becoming, progress. But the fabric is the same. Compulsion, tailored to fit your era. The stage manager calls it meaning to keep the extras from walking off. It works. Most don't leave. They don't even look for the exit. They look for better applause. The curtain is heavy. It smells of other hands. It knows how many have tried to pull it aside and found only another curtain. There are marks taped on the floor. Stand here when you sorrow. Stand there when you smile. Cry on cue. Bow before you understand why. Everyone learns to bow. We call it gratitude. Often it is exhaustion. The costume is waiting. Your size, perfectly wrong. Identity is a garment stitched by fear and longing. It keeps you from shivering in the cold of what you are, and it also hides the cold from view. You wear it in daylight and sleep in it at night. Even your dreams try to button it tighter. When the lights go up, the costume warms. When the lights go out, your skin shivers under it. You confuse warmth with truth. Look into the mirror in the dressing room. You will see more mirrors inside it. Reflections, reflecting reflections. Corridors of selves with no end. You ask, which one is real? The mirror does not answer. It only multiplies. You ask to be seen. You mean, be reassured. Tell me that my mask is convincing. Tell me that my lines are the right lines. The audience is a sea of eyes. Eyes don't love. They consume. You throw your lines like bread. They throw back a sound they call applause. It is nourishment only to the costume. You starve inside the garment. But the garment looks fed. So you accept hunger as the price of being someone. Personality becomes choreography. You step into it the way a dancer steps into pain on purpose. Because the show has a time and the audience has paid. The show is older than you. It will continue after you. You are a role rented by appetite, a phrase in a sentence that was written by thirst. The first time you tasted triumph, you mistook it for an ending. You thought, finally. Finally what? Finally, a chain of praise around your neck. Finally, a leash woven from approval. The stage does not ask how you feel. It asks if you can be heard. You become loud. You confuse volume with presence. Presence is what remains when the role goes silent. Almost no one is present. Look at the props table. Names arranged beside trinkets. Career, family, nation, cause. They're all utilities, useful for carrying the weight of what you cannot bear alone. Many confuse the utility with truth. The thing that helps you carry is not what you carry. The thing you carry is need. Need without object. A thirst that drinks forms and stays thirsty. They say, find your passion. Quo, passion finds you and uses you until you cannot tell who is servant and who is fire. You call it destiny. It is the oldest employment. When desire moves, you hurry. When it stops, you sag. Between the hurry and the sag, a claim that you were born for more. More of what? More of the same. New costumes, same stage. The producer comes to backstage with a promise. He will let you audition for a larger role if you agree to speak like everyone who has ever worn it. This feels like victory. It is absorption. Actors applaud each other's absorption. They call it respect. It is fear of witnessing an exit. You practice faces. You select a tone for sorrow that keeps the room sympathetic. You select a tone for anger that keeps the room quiet. You select a tone for joy that keeps the room buying tickets. You age the costume phrase. You tighten it with a new vocabulary. Words like authentic and purpose hold for a season. Then the seam rips again. You shop for studiefabrik. You find theory. You find rituals. You find glitter. They all glitter the same. In rare moments, the lamp overheats and the room goes still. You feel the hum without the speech. You notice the body as a metronome counting instructions. A pulse is a drum that never auditions. It is hired for life. You sense the will, then the pressure behind all theater. It is not malicious. It is not kind. It is prior. From this, doctrine grows like moss, but the stone under it remains pressure. If you have ever wept without knowing why, the will had you by the throat. If you have ever laughed without knowing why, the grip did not loosen. It found a different muscle. Suffering is not a mistake. It is the baseline tone. Happiness is the brief muting of that tone, the anesthetic between incisions. Fame is the morphine with gold leaf. Solitude is the morphine with ash. Both wear off. What we call self-respect is often compliance with the stage directions. Stand here, say that, eat this. Never ask who wrote the script. Those who ask become critics. Critics are tolerated if they decorate the same stage with sharper words. They are exiled if they suggest turning off the lights. Turn off the lights sounds like death to the actor. To the will, it is a change of tactics. It will act in the dark through different props. Beware of calling any dimness freedom. Freedom that requires scenery is a role with better furniture. Freedom that requires applause is a hostage with taste. The ego is the costume manager, inventing reasons to keep the garment on, inventing reasons to keep the lights hot, inventing reasons to stay visible, even when visibility burns. You learn to call the burn aliveness. You learn to call exhaustion meaning. You learn to call the ache of continuing hope. Quote, hope is the narcotic that tells pain it has a future worth waiting for. Sometimes it helps you breathe. Often it helps you obey. You will be told to invent yourself. Invention suggests power. In truth, you rearrange the mask to fit the same skull. The skull does not care. It waits. You will exhaust vocabulary. You will hire silence. Silence will feel like a lack of oxygen at first. Later, you may hear a small sound inside it. Not comfort, evidence. This is not cynicism. Cynicism is a mood with a costume budget. This is anatomy. Tendons, not tempo. Structure, not style. Look at a child in its first hunger. There is no ideology there, only reach. What you call your values are the refined grammar of that reach. Most virtues whisper, feed me properly. Look at an old face in its last days. The lines are a biography of carrying. Little of what was carried can be remembered. The weight remembers. It writes itself into flesh. You want to be chosen. For what? For the next scene, for the next praise, for the next leash. Sometimes you confuse love with an audience that claps softly. Sometimes you confuse love with an actor who has memorized your lines too. Sometimes you confuse love with a mirror that is kind about the cracks. Love exists, but often it comes dressed as a relief from role, not as a better role. When it undresses, you may not recognize it. We speak of authenticity the way merchants speak of leather. We smell it to judge the real. But the mask can be made of genuine skin and still be a mask. The will does not need you to like your part. It needs you to continue. To continue is to feed it. To feed it is to call it life. No one wants to hear this from a stage. Stages are paid to promise. They sell tomorrow as a front row seat. They sell purpose as sound design. They sell self as a season pass. When despair appears, it is not a failure of lighting. Despair is the mind's hand finally touching the back wall, and finding it is brick. It is not a lesson, it is a surface. If you are attentive, touch becomes measure. You see how close the wall has always been. You understand why the lines were written to keep you facing forward. Forward is applause. Backward is silence. In the silence behind you, there is a door, not out. Through to what? Through to seeing. Seeing is not success. Seeing is subtraction. What remains after seeing may not be attractive, but it fits. The theater hates fit. The theater loves hunger dressed as vision. You ask then, how to live with this lamp in my face? You expect techniques. I will not decorate your cage with better ropes. Standing as you are, without another costume. Feeling the burn. Learning what the burn is not. This is not salvation. This is measurement. Measure the reach that calls itself you. Count the cravings that call themselves fate. Notice how each uses your mouth as a door. Notice how each borrows your eyes to scan for its prey. You are not immoral for containing predators. You are not noble for refusing them dinner. You are a stage where appetites rehearse ethics. There is shame in this only if you believe the costume. There is relief in this if you can sit inside the dressing room and not rush to the mirror each time someone knocks. The knock is constant. It is commerce. It is culture. It is the will in evening wear. You learn, perhaps, to pause before you answer. That pause is not triumph. It is a small seam rip in the garment. A thread loosens. The skin touches air. Air does not care. This indifference is a kind of mercy. No applause arrives when you pause. This is how you know you did not do it for the audience. The theater will interpret your pause as a new kind of act. Let it be wrong. Let it sell tickets to what it can't see. Stand backstage. Stand without a line. Stand until the heat from the lamps is only heat, not meaning. Then return if you must. Return without pretending you were born to bow. The room is full of people who are tired of pretending. They pretend not to be. You will know them by the way their eyes dim when the house music begins. They do not want rescue. They want accuracy. Accuracy is the opposite of spectacle. It is simple witness. It is the willingness to be smaller than your costume suggests. The more accurate you become, the less of you there is to applaud. This is a difficulty for the theater. This is a kindness for the one breathing inside. You will still speak. You will still work. You will still love. But the mask will cool, and your face will learn its weight. Breathe. Listen to the lamp hum. This is not comfort. It is clarity draining in. The city rehearses even in sleep. Sirens practice the note of urgency. Billboards practice memory. Elevators practice ascent like a prayer that never touches ground. Morning is not a beginning. It is the resumption of a contract signed in the dark. You call it responsibility. Often it is inertia with better lighting. The corridor to your tasks is lined with mirrors that only reflect forward. Every reflection shows you arriving, never arriving. Every reflection shows you busier, never present. The day consumes itself to prove that it was used. Productivity is the catechism of an age that cannot stand stillness. We don't ask, what must be done? We ask, what can be recorded as done? The ledger is a liturgy for the anxious. You learn to build shrines to completion. Inbox 0, cleared desk, tracked metrics. These shrines flicker, and you feed them again. But they do not hold you in the night. They hold your fear of being unheld. Work is not simply labor. It is costume with a schedule. It gives you a safe temperature at which to exist. Too cold, and you feel the emptiness. Too hot, and you feel the pain. So we calibrate our meaning by thermostat. Consider the meeting. Voices arranged like props. Certainty rehearsed in tones. Truth rarely enters. Outcomes must. The performance is tidy, but the will is a mess beneath it. Pushing targets through throats like bit and bridle. We praise endurance because quitting exposes the stage. We fear the quiet room where the script is not posted on the wall. We fear the hour that has nothing to explain it. We call this hour wasted. Perhaps it is the only honest one. They will tell you to optimize, to become efficient at living, as if life were a machine that rewards speed with mercy. Machines are merciless. They convert everything into the next task. Optimization is the dream of a will that cannot imagine a good beyond its own momentum. It treats the soul like a warehouse and calls emptiness scalable space. Yet the more room you make for achievement, the more achievement requires room. This is how the warehouse becomes your horizon. This is how you mistake storage for sky. Pause it. Count the urges. They count you back. You are their number. Desire writes the minutes of every meeting you attend with yourself. It sets the agenda even when you swear you are neutral. Neutrality is a color the will doesn't see. It paints over it instantly. You wake up covered in new instructions. Why does boredom terrify? Because for a moment, the will loses its script. It gropes for lines, and you feel the grip loosen just enough to sense what you are without it. Not a hero, not a failure. A creature experiencing duration. The mind calls duration nothing happening. The body calls it being endangered by not being commanded. We tremble, then run toward any sound that resembles a purpose. Noise becomes medicine. Silence becomes threat. Look at the scroll in your hand. It offers exits. Infinite doors, same room. You go room to room and find the same carpet of hunger. The furniture is rearranged. The ache has not moved. Technology expands your sight, but not your vision. You can see 1,000 faces. You cannot bear one gaze. You can hear 1,000,000 voices. You cannot listen through 1 minute of your own. Exposure imitates intimacy. It leaves you more naked than known. The feed is a chorus that sings to the ache, not to the soul. It teaches you a rhythm that never resolves. It teaches you to anticipate the next note as if it were mercy. Anticipation replaces presence. You are suspended between doors. You tell yourself you are learning. Perhaps you are collecting. You arrange fragments like talismans against despair. The fragments do not fuse. They glitter separately and leave your hands cut. Wealth, too, is a glitter that cuts. Not because it is evil, but because it obeys the same arithmetic of lack. More is a silent agreement with hunger to postpone the conversation about enough. Ask quietly, how much is not a number? It is a wound, negotiating for bandages. The culture manufactures wounds for the bandages it already sells. You learn to diagnose yourself in the language of commerce. Your cure arrives as a subscription. Healing becomes the maintenance of a profitable injury. We worship the new because it keeps us from grieving. Grief threatens the theater. It closes the curtains at noon. It refuses to make the loss a brand. It asks you to sit where you are and let the world be smaller. Smaller does not mean less. It means closer to what fit. This is not a romantic poverty. It is the poverty of claims, the shedding of excess assertions about what must be. It is the household where fewer sentences are required to explain the day. It is the table where the hunger is named without theater. Love in such a house is unspectacular. Not a costume exchange under golden light, not a public oath to continue the performance more beautifully. It is two creatures placing their masks down near the door and remembering their faces without applause. We expected love to exalt the will into a heaven of two. Often it magnifies appetite and doubles the hunger. Two mouths drinking the same river do not turn it sweet. They turn it swift, then flood, then ruin. We call the ruin tragedy when it is often arithmetic. The arithmetic changes when love quiets wanting instead of choreographing it. Not by freezing the heart, but by cooling the roll. We can touch without needing proof. We can rest without counting witnesses. We can suffer without turning suffering into theater. You will not find such love in the market of appearances. Markets require performance. They price every gesture by its visibility. Tenderness that cannot be displayed has no currency there. Keep it anyway. Compassion, for Schopenhauer, is the only break in the circuit that is not a lie. Not the grand spectacle of charity. Not the moral costume. A soft refusal to increase the sum of pain. A subtraction anyone can afford. You can practice it in secret, where the world cannot invoice you for it. This subtraction is not a philosophy of defeat. It is a physics of harm. If the will demands continuation, this is the art of carrying less blade in the continuation. Fewer sharp edges on your words. Fewer rehearsed stabs in your judgments. You become careful, not performative. Care without choreography is invisible to the theater. It remains visible to the wound. We celebrate power because it fixes the scenery. We forget that scenery refixes us. Every gain attaches strings that tug backstage. Strings accumulate. A life becomes a marionette of its victories. Sometimes losing is the only instrument left that can cut strings. Not the drama of failure, the quiet refusal to continue a particular script. Your name shrinks. Your breathing returns. The crowd will not clap. Good. Clapping is an instrument of control disguised as gratitude. It tells you who you are by how they sound. Learn instead to be identified by how you fall silent. Silence is not emptiness. It is a room where objects stop shouting their names. In such a room, the self does not echo as loudly. You can hear the hum beneath identity. You can measure it without translating it into a story. Measuring without story is unbearable at first. Because story is insulation. We wrap our nerves in narrative and call the shape me. The nerves still conduct. But the story keeps us from touching the current. Touch the current briefly now, not to be punished. To be calibrated, breathe. Let the applause in your head fall out through your feet. Hear what remains when you are not turning the moment into proof. Proof of what? That you exist in a way that satisfies other people's mirrors. Mirrors have no stomach. They cannot be nourished. Stop feeding them. The theater of egos is efficient at reproducing itself. It recruits by making the outside appear as death. But outside is not death. It is air with fewer instructions. Few can live entirely outdoors. The storm is real. We shelter in roles to avoid exposure. Very well. But step to the doorway sometimes and let the rain describe your limits. Limits are not enemies. They are the bone that keeps the soft parts from collapsing. They are the no that allows any yes to touch ground. The will hates limits because they slow it down. But slowness is where you glimpse the person the role has been using. The person is not a grand secret waiting to be revealed. It is the leftover shape after the obvious appetites tire. It is the contour of your compassion when no one is counting. It is the way you set an object down. It is the space you allow between words. You cannot market this. You cannot weaponize it. You can only live near it without turning it into a product. This nearness is not victory. It is sobriety. Sobriety is the flavor of truth when it stops trying to entertain. It is bitter at first, then clean, then ordinary. It is the taste of water after a decade of sugar. Your heroes, once soberly seen, are workers in the same factory. Some built magnificent rooms in the theater. These rooms are valuable, but their doors still open to the same corridor. Do not confuse architecture with exit. Exit is not a place. It is a reduction of rehearsals. Fewer ways to flee what is. More seat in the chair you are actually sitting in. The will continue to hiss through the wiring. It will borrow your face when it must. Do not bother hating it. Hatred is more rehearsal. You are not tasked with killing the play. You are tasked with not mistaking it for home. Home, if the word can survive this anatomy, is the small region of being where you are not acting even when you must speak. It is the position of the hands when no one is looking. It is the weight of the mask cooling near the threshold. It is the way you share bread without needing a witness to call it generous. Bread, not metaphor. Breath, not slogan. Body, not brand. Here, the day is not redeemed. It is carried without fanfare and set down without a caption. The caption is where the ego begs for permanence. It says, remember me as this. Memory is another theater. It edits. It adds applause where there was none. Let memory be small. Let your life fit in the hands that live it. Let your name be something you can wash from your face without losing your face. You were not born for a biography. You were born into a pressure that will end without explaining itself. Fear answers. Then nothing matters. But mattering is a theatrical verb. It requires an audience to conjugate it. Try a different verb. Try to see. To see does not require a crowd. It requires unlearning a certain way of standing in your own light. It requires enduring boredom without inventing a ceremony to excuse it. It requires tending to small pains without dressing them for a photo. In the seeing, compassion becomes possible not as a virtue to display, but as a reflex of accurate vision. You witness the same will thrashing in another body. You do not argue it out of thrashing. You simply hold the part of the net your hands can hold without tightening it. This is unsatisfying to the theater. It wants arcs, redemptions, ovations. You offer none. You offer less injury. Sometimes you offer an unnoticed quiet. Unnoticed quiet is the rarest gift in a room addicted to echo. Return now to the stage you were given, not to triumph, to perform without worshipping the performance, to speak without devouring, to step where the tape says stand, and still know it is tape. When the music swells, do not swell with it. Let the sound pass like wind over a field of nerves. You are not the wind and not the field. You are the listening. This listening is where the mask cannot fully form. It needs noise to harden. Silence keeps it soft. Soft masks get set down gently. Hard masks rip the skin. You have ripped enough. If you must dream, dream smaller. Dream in the scale of mercies you can keep. Dream of one less cruelty spoken in a clever voice. Dream of one less hunger dressing as purpose. Dream of one evening where the lamp hum is only hum and not a summons. The world will still be a theater of egos. It will not dissolve because you saw it, but it will lose some power to conscript your soul for every matinee. You will attend fewer shows. You will leave before the encore. Leaving is not contempt. It is care for the one breathing inside the costume. It is the refusal to grind your face into a mask until the face forgets its nerve. It is the knowledge that applause cannot be eaten. It is the acceptance that not every silence is a failure. Stand now at the edge of the stage. Do not bow. Do not shout. Let the lights cool your skin instead of burning meaning into it. No applause arrives. This is correct. Breathe once more. Turn the screen black. Hear your pulse scraping the silence, not relief. Evidence. Walk down the narrow staircase to the alley, where the night keeps no records. The door closes. The hum fades. Your footsteps learn their real volume. You do not own the world. You do not owe it a performance. You owe it less harm than yesterday. You owe yourself less pretending. The mask cools. The face learns weight. The room is smaller. The truth fits. Now go where the wind does not ask for your name. Go where a chair is only a chair and not a throne. Go where bread is bread. Go where your hands can set it down gently. No curtain call. No benediction. Only breath. Only night. Only what is.